The Lions are up and running in Perth. A 7:54 win, 8 tries, 76-minute shutout as well, which is much more like it. Welcome to the Quick Tap on the Good, the Bad and the Rugby. With me, Graham Simmons, and back by popular demand down there, the holidaymaker in Devon, Mr. Hamish Watson, the 2021 Lion. Mish, good to see you again. Still haven't got the postcard. Does it finally stop pissing down there?
The suns are meant to come through this afternoon, so we're positive. It was raining all morning, but we've got a barbecue scheduled for later. So
good stuff. Look forward to that. And as ever, we're also in the company, of course, of Continental Tyres, the official tyre partner of England Rugby, whether on the rugby field or on the road. You can trust Continental Tyres for exceptional safety, performance and grip. And if you're joining us on YouTube, again, as ever, do hit the like button, share your thoughts or comments. Thank you to those of you who did that last Thursday. And on the notification bell as well for the Good, the Bad and the Rugby channel. Plenty to talk about from all of that, Mish. You've got 25 minutes to fill. I'm off to walk the dog. Away you go. What did you think? What was your headline from the game?
Very different to what I was thinking, as I imagine a lot of people at the end of the first half. Van der Fleer had to do a try-saving tackle to keep it as 2 tries clear. That was quite a pivotal moment, I think, as well. Had the Forces scored there, it might have been a bit different. I think, like we said a couple of days ago when we were recording, I think it's always hard for these club teams. They come out firing. I thought the Force were actually really good when they came out. They dominated territory, possession. Lions struggled with their ill discipline and their penalty counts. But like we said, when you've got another 8 class players to bring on, international players, some of the best players in Britain coming on off the bench as well, I think you're always going to get the Lions pulling away towards the end. I think that's what you saw. I thought we were a lot more the Lions were a lot more clinical as well than the Argentina game when they were making breaks. The offloads were going to hand, lots of second touches, and I thought it was a bit more of a ruthless performance, which you'd expect as well against a club team compared to Argentina, who are obviously a top 5 international team. But overall, I think the scoreline might flatter the Lions slightly if you just looked at the score and didn't watch the game.
Nick White said that afterwards, didn't he? He certainly felt that from the Force perspective. He thought the scoreline maybe flattered the Lions. I'm not so sure, but yeah.
Yeah, I just think that the first half, I think it was another good test for the Lions. I think in that first half, the Force were right up there. I think you heard Andy Farrell say at the end as well. Physicality wise, the Force were really on it in that first half, and to score their try, they had to build up to 15 phases as well. So that was a good test for the Lions. So I think it was ultimately the first game on tour. I thought it was pretty decent because you want them to be competitive as well. You don't want the Lions just always running away with it. But I think the class in the end came through as well.
Yeah, no question. I think there were plenty of things we were talking about that were going to be work-ons from the Argentina game, and I think they solved a fair few of those. Not all, but complete. There were still probably too many handling errors, I guess, from Andy Farrell's point of view. Let's just look at the positives, though. I mean, you kind of touched on it in there, Mish. There was more patience, wasn't there? There was a lot more patience when they got in to the red zone, and some of the tries they scored, certainly in the first half as well as the second, were just delightful in terms of just waiting the moment, and picking it off. And their 22 efficiency, their red zone efficiency, was off the charts compared to Argentina.
Yeah, 100%. I think the first half was probably the tries came a bit more from individual brilliance. The crossfield kick from Finn, the quick tap from Finn as well. Whereas the second half, the try, I think it was straight after the second half where they ran the length of the field from a turnover. That's what you want to see as well. Just playing quickly off turnover ball. It was a knock on, I think, from the Force, and then Tomos Williams scored that try where unfortunately it looked like he hurt his hamstring as well, which will be a big loss because I thought he played really well again. But yeah, I think, like you say, the Lions were just a lot more clinical than the Argentina game. And when we had our chance, I think the Lions took them. So it was good to see everyone running through on line breaks, and you saw a few bits of individual brilliance from the likes of Pollock as well. Everyone was always wondering if he was going to step up, and every challenge when people sort of question him a bit, whether that's Champions Cup or whatever it may be, he has his moments, and they're the sort of players you need on these tours. One of the try, I think it was a second try with him and Van der Fleer, they linked up really well for that try. I think Tomos Williams finished it off, but I think there was lots of positives to take, to be honest, and a lot of tries as well, so it's good for the fans.
We'll get to the individuals maybe in just a minute, Mish. I'd love to see Henry Pollock's numbers in terms of tackle counts and involvements in that game. I haven't got them yet, but I'd love to see what they are when they crop up. In terms of work-ons from all of that, I think we can probably put restarts at the top of the list, can't we? I don't think they won one.
Yeah, restarts was a big struggle. I don't know whether that was something the Force had maybe seen or targeted, because they obviously saw something on the pod, and then they started doing short ones as well, which the Lions struggled to deal with. So that's definitely something they'll have to address before the midweek game. Ill discipline in the first half compared to Argentina, where I think they gave away a really low penalty count. Ill discipline was a big worry. I think you saw Farrell at half time. He was just trying to guess what he was saying, and you could see him the whole jackal over the top. He was sort of doing that motion and then shaking his head.
The body language spoke volumes, didn't it?
Yeah, so I think he obviously said
he meant it. Whatever he was saying, he definitely meant it, didn't he? Yeah.
In the second half, you didn't see many of the boys going for jackals, so I think he just said, "Listen, we're not getting much off this ref. Just leave the breakdown, and you counter-ruck it instead and show the physicality there." So that'll be a big work on as well. The discipline. Territory was a bit of a worry. I touched on it before. The territory battle in the first half as well. We didn't dominate that at all. And then finally, it was something I sort of noticed a bit in the Argentina game as well. I think the Lions have obviously gone for this blitz D, and you saw it against Argentina. Obviously they only had 2 weeks in that Argentina game, and when you're doing the blitz defense, if you're not used to that, it's very hard to implement. You know, some of the best teams in the world doing it, South Africa, have done it for years, but they're very used to it. Whereas against Argentina, you saw those flat balls, people getting slightly ahead on the outside, and lots of line breaks were through the middle of the park against Argentina. And in that first half, I think a few of the Forces line breaks came from that as well. So that's going to take a while to get to grips with. Some of those players who aren't used to that blitz defense. You saw a few people shooting out the lines at ones and twos. So I think they'll need to fix that up a bit as well, the Lions, because Australia will look to exploit that, I think.
There's one tiny bit in that game. You mentioned Andy Farrell there and his body language at halftime. There was one tiny bit in that game there that intrigued me, which was, I think most of the time we cut away to the Lions box. Faz just had this kind of 1,000-yard Green Beret stare going on, heading out of the window. There was no flicker of not much going on. The one time he really looked incredibly animated, I mean, it was the full Tiger Woods fist pump. It was everything. Was the Mac Hansen moment when Hansen ran back under pressure, saved the situation, hoofed the ball upfield, and then chased the ball upfield, made the turnover, and forced the error. And that was the point that Farrell. I think that told you an awful lot about what Farrell wants to see from this team, that kind of Mac Hansen moment. And Hansen was one of those guys today, I thought. I mean, a lot of their, I don't mean this disrespectfully, but perhaps some of the guys below the radar a little bit who really, really stood out today. We'll get into that a bit more in a second. But, the likes of Hansen, people were questioning why Daly was there. Some were maybe questioning why Joe McCarthy was there. Those guys, had a really big day. But that kind of animation from Farrell told you a lot, or told me a lot anyway.
Yeah, I think so. I think when you read between the lines of the odd press release here and there, and what Farrell wants from this Lions team, it is definitely that sort of mentality that Hansen showed on that play. Because even after the game, I caught his interview there just before we jumped on, and he was saying he got asked of individual performances, and a coach after only their second game, probably especially in a Lions situation, doesn't want to chuck out a load of names because you could have named a lot of the tries and boys who did well, but he did go straight to that moment of Hansen.
All right, okay, yeah,
and he put out that moment and said that's the sort of mentality you need as a Lions player to do that. And he singled out him there for that work rate moment. That's a no skill moment basically, and boys just working hard for the jersey. So that's obviously what he wants from his Lions players as well.
I mentioned at the start it was a 76-minute shutout. Mish. I think Nick White scored, in the 4th minute, and Western Force didn't get on the scoreboard again for the rest of the game. I mean, for all the defensive bits and pieces that we've talked about, I guess that will please the Lions to some extent. But how much do you think the Force contributed, and how symbolic are they going to be of the kind of teams that that Lions are going to come up against in the next few weeks?
Well, we spoke about it a bit that first half. I think the Force did have a lot of opportunity, like we said, with the territory possession. They kicked for the corner a few times and it didn't quite go right for them. So I mean that's full credit to the Lions as well, because to be camped on your line and not have much possession and territory in the first half to only concede the one try is a good effort as well. But there were definitely moments where you thought the Force could have pulled it close. You mentioned that moment before the end of the first half where
Pollock
Pollock
huge.
had gone off in the bin and they broke off the back, and Van der Fleer was obviously held it up over the line. But
he held up two blokes on his own. It was a monumental effort. It was astonishing that he managed to hold that up. I'm not sure how he did it, but it was incredible.
Yeah, exactly, and it's a big moment to go in at the break and be 14 points clear, having not played amazingly well in that first half. It's a big momentum shift, and just mentally for the players. So I think that was a big moment of the game. Apart from that, I think in the second half the Force struggled a bit more. Lions stepped up their game, and the D was very good, but they didn't have as many chances as well. But like you say, a 76-minute shutout, and that'll be something that the Lions will really build off.
What do you think of the bench, Mish?
Yeah, again, I thought the bench came on and made a difference. I know Tomos Williams went off for injury, but I thought the guys who came on did well. The front row who came on, the scrum started to function a bit towards the end, whereas the Force did pretty well in the first half. I thought after Argentina, we said on the pod a couple of days ago how the set piece, specifically the scrum, was really good. Whereas you saw as the Force got a bit more tired, and we brought on another front row. I think that's when they struggled. You just with the like we said earlier, with the club teams, they're always going to struggle when we've just got so much depth, and you're bringing on world-class front rowers. So I thought the bench again did well. Hugh Jones, when he came on, that was his first taste of Lions action, and I thought you saw little glimmers of what he can do when he got on the ball. The no-look pass from Sione to Hugh, and you thought that was going to be what they do every week at Murrayfield, and then he got under the post. So I thought he came on and made a bit of a difference as well. So that was it's exciting when you see these guys coming on as well, because especially when they're getting their first taste of it. I think it was nine new Lions caps. So I thought obviously all a massive moment for them as well.
Give us a unique insight from a Sevens perspective, Hamish, about how the game was refereed by Ben O'Keefe. And it's significant because, as we mentioned on Thursday, O'Keefe is going to be the guy who will referee the first test in Brisbane. And sometimes you see some Southern Hemisphere referees, easy for me to say, coming up and refereeing in the Northern Hemisphere. And when they go back down to the South, they sometimes can do things in a potentially a slightly different way. From what was going on and what you saw at the breakdown, how much will the Lions have learnt ahead of the first test about how O'Keefe is going to referee that? I mean, we were talking about what Andy Farrell looked to be saying in the dressing room at half-time about jackals. How much of a shift are the Lions going to have to make to but to adapt to Ben O'Keefe in the first test?
Yeah, I think they would have got a lot from that the match today, because, like you say, Ben O'Keefe's refereeing the first test match, and I think the commentators mentioned towards the end of the game that there wasn't one jackal penalty for either side. I thought the Force had a few moments where they could have got a jackal penalty, and then certainly the Lions in that first half were putting a lot of players into the breakdown, a lot of boys having a sniff, and they weren't getting much reward. Pollock finally got sin bin for one that I thought was. I watched it back a few times, being a bit of the nose that I am, and I thought that Pollock might have got a quick release in there as well. He obviously got sin bin for it. Ty Byrne, a second rower, but was playing at 6 today, normally a big jackling threat as well, and he got pinned a few times. So he was unlucky not to get a few. The one thing I would say about that was interesting to see today, how Ben O'Keefe was doing it as well, is what you found a lot in the Six Nations and club rugby this season was basically when players are off their feet, you get a lot of people tackling past now, and when players are off their feet, you can do the jackal where you're basically reaching over the top of the breakdown, which a lot
was
of the
hot
Lions,
on that, wasn't he?
Which a lot of the Lions players were doing today.
Yeah, he got into Henry Pollock on that a few times, didn't he?
So normally the way it was ref this season, a lot of the time in the Northern Hemisphere, is once those bodies are off the deck and they're on their knees, then you can go over the top and go for the ball. Whereas you heard Ben O'Keefe clearly saying a lot of times, no, it's a ruck, it's a ruck. So I think that's something that the players will have to get used to. And I think reading between the lines, that's probably what something Farrell was saying in at the halftime team talk, just to leave that breakdown. So if they go down that route, and then probably like we were saying the other day, you might not go for the 2-7s options, just if the jackling opportunities aren't going to be there. But who knows? Ben O'Keefe might rewatch the game as well and maybe see that he could have given a few penalties there. You don't know.
Just have a quick word on Tomos Williams. The best of days and the worst of days for him. I guess he scored a couple of cracking tries, played really well, but obviously he's done something to his hamstring, and we don't know exactly how bad it looks. He was certainly hobbling off, looking pretty pained at the end of that, which is a heck of a shame for him. And fingers crossed he's back and up and running as soon as is possible. But the Lions will be on the phone to someone right now, won't they? I mean, they'll have to be on the phone to someone right now. JGP being, hopefully being ready. I mean, Andy Farrell was asked this, I think, at the end, wasn't he, where he was talking about hopefully next week. He didn't say Wednesday. He said hopefully next week. But even so, if Tomos is out of the way for a week, 10 days, they're going to have to get on the phone and get someone out, aren't they?
Yeah, you think they're going to have to call another 9 out. As you said, it's gutting for Tomos Williams. Hopefully it's not too serious, because we mentioned him against Argentina as well. He really brought something off the bench that day and started the day, scored 2 tries and was really good with his link-up play. So hopefully it might only be, a week, 2 weeks, and he gets back as soon as possible. But I imagine they'll have to call someone up now. I think it was Van der Poortvliet got called into the Portugal camp, didn't he? So I don't know whether he'll be next in line. Who knows?
It looks though he may be the next cab off the rank. Yeah, he's also halfway there already, which may help.
Yeah, exactly. But it's one of those things. It's going to happen in these games. I'm sure you never want to see it, but probably more boys will go down at some point as well. And I mean, for the guys who are really close to getting on the Lions tour as well, it's something they'll have to look out for.
We'll get into individuals maybe in a bit more depth in a minute, Mish, but can we just have a quick word on Finn Russell? Because I thought the time he was on, certainly in the first half, I thought he was fabulous. I thought his patience. I know everything didn't quite come off, and we know reasons why these things don't quite happen, cohesion, other bits and pieces, but he really potentially looks as though he could be a point of difference. It could almost be his Messi moment, couldn't it? This test series, it could be absolutely the canonization of Finn Russell if all goes well, because he clearly has that many strings to pull and he's that influential.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's already got the treble with Bath, so this would be, if he can get in a Test Series squad and get a Test Series win, that would be the quadruple, which would be pretty unheard of in rugby terms. When he started today, we mentioned that first try. Mm-hmm. It's what he does so well, recognising the space for one. I don't know whether Sheehan's calling that or not, but it's just what you see it every week for Bath. It
was just the way as well. I mean, I don't know how many touches he had in that whole sequence. I mean, I think the Force had the ball to start with, Lions got it back, and the Force didn't see it again for the next 2 minutes or so. But I don't know how many touches he had in that, but it was just the way he almost seemed to be toying with the defence, looking this way, trying this, moving this option, and then bang, found the killer option straight away. His involvements in that sequence were just fantastic, and there's the way he was looking to see and play with the defence, drift defence as well, which is perfect for him. He can leave it late. I thought it was majestic.
Yeah, no, he is, and that's what you get with Finn. You're going to get those moments of brilliance, and then again for the quick tap when you can see him saying something to Pollock like "stay ready" or whatever Finn might be saying there, and then taps and goes and sets up another try out of nothing when the Force sort of switch off when the Force are playing pretty well. So you're going to get those moments with Finn. You also, with Finn, he's actually a really reliable defender as well for a 10. I thought Finn Smith also defended really well against Argentina. I haven't seen him play as much, and he's actually a good defender as well. But with Finn, he's going to front up in D as well.
Yeah, he put someone on his backside at one point and then got back up and then dived into the side of the ruck to whack somebody. It was there was nothing particularly on, but he just did it, and I was just sitting there thinking, no, don't do that, just go back out, stay safe. Look, it's now time, Mish, for the total package, delivered by DHL, the official logistics partner of the British and Irish Lions. Every week we look at the players who stepped up and delivered when it mattered most, and this week there were several standout performances. And as I mentioned earlier, Mish, a lot of them from guys who maybe aren't necessarily the stellar names of the tour. But let's Oscar this, shall we? And give us a few nominees from your point of view as to who you thought really stood out on the day. And I know you are a member of the back row union, comrade, but you are free to look further out if you want.
Okay, I think we'll start in the forward pack. Obviously, who got officially the man of the match as well, Joe McCarthy. I think he was very good. The physicality he brought around the breakdown. He was smashing boys. All his carries. He started the game very well. Got a try as well for his hard work. I thought he was really good. Like you say, someone who's probably on the outskirts of the second rows. Maybe he's definitely put down a marker today. I thought he was excellent. Pollock, we mentioned him earlier. He has these massive moments, and the confidence he has. You know, you line break, you do a chip and chase, regathers the ball. The try, him and Van der Fleer had that nice link-up play for Tomos Williams' try. So I thought he had a really good game.
Yeah, the yellow card. I think he was, as you said, I think he was unlucky on the yellow card, Mish, wasn't he? Because I think that may have been cumulative. I think that may have been a cumulative thing more than anything else. But what I would say about Henry is, as much as I, and Sam Warburton said this, much as I love his kind of feistiness, when you scored a try, by all means, give someone a mouthful, but don't shove them. Once you start shoving people, then you are asking to get it back. But by all means, unload a bit of lip, but don't start shoving people around. That's not quite so clever, is it?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing as well about these games. Every play you saw in the Bordeaux game, every player is going to be out to get him. He puts a massive target on his head, which makes it harder as well. Maybe teams are a bit too amped up and trying to smash him and stuff like that. So he's definitely got a target on his head, so that can make it harder for him. But yeah, he's just got to be a bit careful, because you want to be a big character and stuff, but also the rest will be looking for him maybe for like little bits of niggly stuff off the ball now as well. So he's got to be careful. No, and then in the backs, I thought James Lowe, whenever he was involved, he obviously had the crossfield he got on the end of Sheehan's pass, and then did an out the back or around the back to Sheehan. So I thought, and then he was involved in the first try in the second half as well, the length of the field one. So I thought everything everywhere he was, and when he got involved, he was very good. And mentioned Finn as well, and Tomos Williams.
Yeah, I'll see your guys and I'll raise you a couple if that's all right. That's okay. I'm not necessarily saying that they were obvious candidates to be man of the match, but they did catch the eye. I thought Gary Ringrose looked like he'd been waiting for that game for a long time, and he was not gonna let it go by without getting involved in it. I thought Mac Hansen didn't have the perfect game, dropped a couple of balls maybe, but I just think he was fabulous. And Elliot Daly again. I'm not sure he made a mistake all night long, and you see when you watch Daly play, you see why he's a tourist 3 times, and you see why people still want him back on the team, because he's such a rock solid, reliable presence, and he's a heck of a character off the pitch as well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we mentioned Mac earlier, and the little bits that he had in the game, especially the mentality to get back and chase his own kick, and those moments that he had. But yeah, I agree with Elliot Daly as well. We said a couple of days ago how important it is to have people there who have been there, done it, third time tourists. There's a reason for that. He sometimes gets a bit of flack, but today he was excellent. No, like you say, no mistakes. Scored a couple of tries.
Very composed, wasn't it? Very composed.
On with business, doesn't really celebrate his try. Gives the ball back to the person taking the kick and just gets on with it. And I thought he was really good today as well.
The other guy I'd chuck into the mix if I can here, Mish, bearing in mind I'm talking to a 7, was Josh Van der Fleer, who I thought really grew into the game. I mean, you've talked at length about that. Hugely important in effort he made at the end of the first half to hold up 2 guys and keep the lead at 14 points. But I think as the game went on, he became more and more influential in defence and in attack. I think it was 19 tackles. I saw one stat come up towards the end of the game that he'd made, which is a heck of a shift for a 7. Give us a 7's appreciation on a 7.
Yeah, I think he's, like you said, 19 tackles. He might have got a couple more towards the end as well. I talked briefly about the try and the link-up play he had with Pollock to set up Tomos Williams' try. I think was it Pollock did a tip to Van der Fleer. Van der Fleer sort of half broke a tackle, gave it back to Pollock. So that was really good. That's what you want your 7 doing as well. You want them in the wide channels, linking up with other players, linking up with the back. So I thought that was a really good bit of play from him. We spoke about the hold up over the line, which was a big moment. He made another nice little break in the second half where he picked the ball through the ruck. I think he may have tried to force an offload after that, but I thought he had a really solid game. And you want your 7 to go out there and get jackals, but in a game where it was very hard with the refereeing that we've touched on, I thought apart from that he did everything he could have done. So really solid performance from him as well.
Right, we need to pick one player, someone who not only delivered on the field but also lifted the entire team. And given your playing career is slightly more stellar than mine has ever been, I'm gonna leave you with this one, Mish. It's your pick. Here comes the drum roll. Away you go.
I think if Finn would have obviously been on the field longer, I think that's a different conversation. I think he obviously had massive moments and played really well. But I think I'm gonna jump on the hype train, and I'm gonna give it to Pollock. I think the moments he had in games where I don't know. Obviously, he was on the bench against Argentina, and could he be a test starter? I'm not sure at the moment. We'd probably need to see a bit more, but definitely that sort of bench spot where he can come on when teams are a bit tired, when the game breaks up a bit. And I think you saw the bits that he can offer today. Unlucky with his yellow card, but I thought a few of his line breaks, a few of his offloads off the deck. I think it was pretty impressive.
Well, it's all about teamwork, speed, and precision for DHL, working behind the scenes so the Lions can fire on game day. And Henry Pollock, you are the DHL total package, and as suspected, the back row union is as comradely as we ever thought, and the back row has gone for a back row. In fact,
you've passed on a little bit. He can turn it down a little bit, maybe.
You've passed on the mantle here, Mish, because I think this corresponding game 4 years ago in South Africa, you were the player of the match. So it's in your gift to pass it on. It's fitting that it's come from you. So well done. When Andy Farrell looks at the first two games, I mean, obviously one was a disappointing defeat, one is a pretty emphatic win. How will he weigh up the currency of the performances of various players, given that in one game you're playing the fifth best team in the world, and in the other game you're playing, no disrespect, the ninth best team in Super Rugby Pacific? How does he weigh up and measure performances given the quality and calibre of the opposition? Is that a tricky thing to do?
I think it is tricky because you've got I think the players who are lucky enough to play against Argentina got a chance to put down a marker against an international team. So I think that'll help slightly. So if you had a really good game against Argentina, that is obviously a better opposition, with no disrespect, than the Force. But then on the other hand, the guys playing their first games today or getting their first starts today, you can only play also the team in front of you, and you put down your marker against them. So I think he'll have that in the back of his mind. He'll also, like we said last week about the future teams that Farrell's thinking. I think Farrell roughly, like a lot of the coaches on these tours, will roughly have in mind maybe, I don't know, 10 people, I think, who would imagine, you start in test. That can change, obviously, if you have a bad warm-up game, but I think so you've just got to do everything. If you think you're on the outskirts potentially of a test squad, or you think you're in a test squad, every time you take the field, you've just got to do as much as you can to lay down your marker to get into that test series. Because like we're saying, yes, the Argentinians were a harder opposition, but you might not got your shot against them, and now you've only got these games in front of you. So every time you take the field, you just got to try and put your best foot forward and hope that's enough. Because also Farrell, the Ireland coach, some of the Irish players might have a slightly more money in the bank as well. He knows what they do week in, week out, knows their personalities. So it's you just, every time you take the field, you got to take your opportunity.
Well, the Lions are straight to the airport tomorrow morning, jetting across the outback to Brisbane for the Reds game on Wednesday. Reds, just to mark your card, 5th in Super Rugby Pacific. They've got just 2, though, of their 8 Wallabies back on parade. In terms from a Lions perspective, Mish, I mean, hopefully we're going to see Jamison Gibson Park, hopefully Hugo Keenan, hopefully James Ryan. Who else and what other combinations might you like to see on Wednesday at the Suncorp?
Geez, who's going straight to the back row? I'm trying to think who hasn't got a start out the back rowers. Did Conan start against Argentina? No. So Conan will come in, I imagine. Conan will get a start at 8, so that'll be his first chance on tour to put down a marker. A few of the other boys who haven't, who's the 10s who haven't got a start? Will Marcus get a start
Marcus
at 10?
might
Maybe
get a start at 10.
He might get a start at 10 because he's obviously had a go at 15 and come off the bench today at 10. So that'll be interesting.
Hugh Jones, Ronan Kelleher, these kind of guys.
Hugh Jones will. I think at some point they will give Hugh and Sione a shot. It's not. I mean, Sione started 2 on the bounce now, so I don't think it will be this midweek game, obviously, but at some point I'd like to see that as well, just to see them linking up, because they know, they do that every week with Scotland. Then they're probably going to do that with the Irish centre partnership as well at some point, I'd imagine. So it's just interesting to see how all those combinations work, and like you say, they're getting their 15s back as well, hopefully, with Keenan and Blair. Probably not going to be available for the midweek game, but maybe the game after that.
Yeah. And just before we go, we've got Toulouse against UBB tonight in Paris. Have you texted Blair? Have you your mate Blair Kinghorn and given him a good luck message? Or he was tight to Blakey, wasn't he? Because I think he was an injury doubt this week.
I will drop him a text. Last time I texted him was actually to chase him for a bit of money, because I had to buy my own. I'm an usher at his wedding. I had to buy my own suit, so it was just chasing for a bit of money. But I probably should send him a good luck message as well,
And when does the holiday finally wrap up, Mish? When are you back up to Edinburgh?
We're back for pre-season on the 21st of July.
So you're down there the whole time in Devon?
I've got 2 more weeks down here.
Lovely.
And then go back to see the in-laws for a bit, then to Manchester for a bit, and then back up to Edinburgh for a Bronco on the 21st of July, Monday morning. It does.
You're doing
15th one, things don't change.
You're doing more travelling than the Lions at the moment. Mish, good to talk to you. Lovely to have your company. Thank you very much indeed. Enjoy the game on Wednesday, as I'm sure we all will. And many thanks for your time.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, as always, to our sponsors, Continental Tyres, the official tyre partner to England Rugby. Remember, if you're looking for an award-winning tyre that can keep you up with your every move, look no further than Continental Tyres. Thanks to you for tuning in. Thanks to Mish. QT will be back on Thursday next to look ahead, or to look back, I should say, perhaps at the Reds game and ahead to the Waratahs. Do join us then. If you haven't had a chance yet, do catch up with the boys talking to Finlay Calder the other day. That was a cracking chat. And I think Conor Murray might be in the studio on Monday, so look out for that one with the guys. Anyway, in the meantime, enjoy your weekend. Thanks for tuning in.